Hi there, and welcome to the Alleyway Stamps Spring Video Blog Hop. This is Chrissy, and I just want to take you through my process as I made this card for the video hop. So I'm going to start out by using Flower Show, and I'm going to combine it with Flyby and Yappy. So first what I do is I'm using my stamping tool. This is called a Misty, and I like using this simply for the fact that I can kind of see what I'm doing as I'm laying it out. This tool is also really great for multiple, if you're gonna do the same card multiple times, and it's great for like 2-layer stamping and stuff like that. I'm using it because I wasn't 100% sure what I was gonna do with my layout until I did it. So it was kind of nice visually to see it. So, and the other nice thing about it is too, if you don't get a good impression the first time, you can go ahead and restamp it again, like I'm doing right here, because it doesn't move. So I'm notorious for having to restamp my things, so this is great. So what I did is I stamped everything in Stays On, and I went and cleaned off my stamps here, because I was going to do like a watercolor type technique. So I stamped everything on the smooth side of watercolor paper, and I have my water brush. So what I'm using is Spectrum Aquas, and those are from like the Spectrum Noir line, and these are the watercolor markers. So I just went ahead, and there's several different ways to use these, but I went ahead and I colored right on that stamp. Then I sprayed some water on the stamp, and I sprayed some water on the paper. I really wanted it to look soft and really, really watercolory. And then I went ahead and I did the same thing with some of the other stamps as well. I love that watercolor look, especially with flowers. The Flower Show set and even the Flyby set, I think they're so perfect to use with different watercolors. So I really thought that it was great to use that technique for those particular stamp sets. And then to soften them up even more, I went in and I added a paper towel because I felt that they were still a little too vibrant. So that way it kind of blotted them a little bit. And just for the record, I did speed this video up. I don't work that fast. So I stamped those two things, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color in the flower. So you can do it in multiple ways. I just like putting some color down on my acrylic block and then grabbing some of that color with my water brush. And I'm using a non-stick craft mat as well, almost kind of like as a secondary palette. And that way too, it's easy for me to clean up. I don't even have to have like a cup of water or anything like that. I just kind of spritz some water, mix the color together, and they blend really well together too. So that's just the technique that works for me. You can color directly on the paper. If you're recreating a card similar to this, you don't even have to use watercolor markers. You can use true watercolors, you can use pencils, you can use anything you want. Like I said, I just really like using those markers, and I really love the watercolor look. So, and I went ahead and I blotted it again just with some water. I just really wanted it to be softer. Like it just seemed it was too vibrant. I guess I didn't have enough water on it the first time around. So colored in that flower, and it is kind of doing that like really awesome watercolory bleedy thing that it does with watercolor paper. And I do recommend, like I said, I use Stays On, and I recommend using that. That particular ink is formulated so the water will not cause it to bleed. If you use like a regular, like a VersaFine or even like a Memento, and then you add water to it, it could start bleeding. So that's why I use the Stays On. So that's the one that I usually recommend when you're doing any type of watercoloring. And just make sure you clean off your stamps really well after using Stays On. I faded the video out because it did take me a little bit to clean them off because I have a cleaner, and then I have like a scrub brush that I use. And sometimes it stains your stamps, but that's okay. So I've colored everything in, and then I decided, you know what, it might be kind of cool to like have some spray mist, like some flicking. I love that splattered effect. So instead of pulling out spray mist or something else, why don't, I just use the markers that I already have out. So that's what I did. Did the same technique that I did when I colored them in, but instead you saw me kind of flick it. I do that too with my spray mist. Lots of my spray mist, I don't even actually use the spray nozzle. I do the same thing with a brush and flick them. So I just hit it with the heat gun. I did this for two reasons. One, I wanted to speed it up because I'm really, really impatient. And two, I didn't want to just leave it there and then have it start curling. If you want to let it air dry, you can, but then you probably want to put it underneath something heavy. Depending upon how much water you added to your watercolor paper, it could buckle or curl a little bit. So like I said, I just hid it because I did not want it to start buckling, and because I was filming a video and there was no way that I was going to put it aside and wait a half an hour for it to completely dry. I couldn't do that. So I decided that I definitely needed something else. I wanted to add a few sequins. So I just pulled out all of my sequins and just kind of started playing around. Like I said, lots of times when I do a card, I usually have like a basic idea in my head of the theme that I want, or like the sets that I want to use, but I don't always know exactly how it's going to work out. So I'm just going to kind of play around with the sequins here. And there's a nice secret word in the corner there that if you're participating in the video hop this week that goes to this weekend, make sure you write that down and email it. So here I kind of decided where my sequins were going to go. Now there's a ton of different ways that you can add sequins to cards. I just usually use my tacky glue, and I usually try to use tweezers. You can see I just kind of dip them in lightly. That seems to be the easiest way for me. You can always, sometimes I use glue dots too. I had really small sequins here and I didn't have small enough glue dots on hand for those. I would need like real mini ones, and I only had, I think, like medium and large. Some people use glossy accents. I mean, there's all different kinds of ways that you can do it. I just, you know, I have this glue out on my desk all the time. I use it for so many things that I just figured, you know what, it's right here, I'm going to use it. So just dip it in with the tweezers, and you don't have to use tweezers, whatever works for you. So here you can see the little sequins, and then I decided the one last thing that the card was missing was a little more sparkle. So I grabbed my Wink Stella, it's the clear, and I just added in some highlights of some sparkles in there. It just needed something else. So there you can kind of see it shimmering. There's the final card, and then here I'm going to show you a sneak peek of that's the final card, I should say. And now I'm going to show you a sneak peek right there of the next card in the hop. Enjoy!